Oyentes, a continuación 100.9 Hits 100 junto con Subway y también meten Dorlas ta presenta Entrevista di Dia pa Awe. Y nos está live junto con UNESCO Awe, nos se llama Bombini na Birgit Kreykenbohm di UNESCO. Bom dia.
Bom dia, Aldrich.
Bom dia, welcome. Y también nos se llama Janelly Wolff, que es un stagiaire na UNESCO. Bom dia, Janelly.
Bom dia.
Bombini awe te dia mundial di radio e te pesei bosonanta cerca nos awe bos te hai bos koffie e te o di smet en dorlas e la nos celebra awe te dia di radio bosona tana un emissora e seita importante pa sobre ko e dia di awe radio te celebra su dia e den historia radio a cambia mundo. A se desarrollo de información, entretenimiento y mucho más. Y la que nos tiene un poco tocante UNESCO, di con UNESCO te pone así na hopi atención también arriba dia di radio awe.
Thank you, Aldrich. Thank you. And thank you that we can be on the show.
Yeah, you can go ahead in English.
Thank you. For UNESCO, we build a world also through communication. No, we promote communication in the broadest sense, and radio is one of the world's most important and a very early communication tool instrument that was also part of the fortifying efforts of a democracy. Today it gives us, as UNESCO Aruba, we're a small organization but a very dynamic one, an opportunity to come in contact with radio stations, because for us it's kind of an under highlighted area. We focus more on other areas of communication, media and journalism, but radio is a very important one. And today, the World Day of Radio gives us that opportunity to connect with you, for example.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it very much that you have dedicated time to be with us today. And of course, during the last years, you can say that radio has, you can say, changed, but also the media has been influenced by, as you know, social media, internet, which has diminished the, not the role, but diminished the attention that radio plays in the community. And in a certain way has taken away also part of the audience. But in a way still, radio is very important, and is important in the morning hours and the afternoon hours and emergency moments. Exactly. And in entertainment moments. Radio is very informative, flexible and diverse, ready to move anytime, and that can display and play an important role in any community. So in Aruba, we are very much a radio country. So yes. For many years. Yeah, I think we have around 16 radio stations on the island. Maybe too much for the island, but that's the reality.
That's the reality. True, absolutely true. And I think, and that is something that you see worldwide, right? With radio, you can reach almost every citizen. And that is, of course, very important if you want to give people information and give them access to information. No? So that is a really important role still, I think, for radio, even in these times of, this quite digital transformation, no? And also the artificial intelligence that's now raising up, creating content. I think we still need critical journalists, kind of scanning the information that is out there. And I don't want to say as a gatekeeper, but also to be a critical voice, no, and a critical mind in all the information that is out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. We have listeners in Canada. We have listeners in Japan. We have listeners in Holland. We have listeners in the Middle East. Several countries, Arubians that live, and are married to internationals. So many times we get information about our listeners internationally also. So we are very happy about that.
That is very interesting. So you connect the diaspora back to Aruba.
Yes,
Fantastic.
Yes, indeed. And what about the role of Janelly? Janelly, kiko bo rol ta awaki na UNESCO?
Awaki namin ta stagiaire na communication and information sector. UNESCO tinha sinahopi diferente departamento nang focus more on information and communication. Paso mitagwaku communication ta hopi broad, ting radio, ting journalism, ting social media, Facebook, podcast, etc. E mi fascinada em mediosfera. Pensei, me hopi agradecido ao Ecuba dando-nos a oportunidade para vir papio over the World Radio Day. So sita dia mi tayo hopi special, po sita cominciamento di aia. Ante ta doon naman emphasis di radio, which de história sempre tawata cos mas usar, corriente po bay, internet po kay, pero radio sempre aqui da maneira vital moment in media.
Correcto. Bala, ora bota más chiquito, más joven, balanta como mucha. Sí. Balanta na Aruba?
Sí.
Okay.
Mitad de Ruben.
Okay. Botato escucha radio ora ba school?
Sí, mitad escucha radio di auto.
Bo mayor na escucha radio.
Mitad tinha radio chiquito na mi casa também de mi mes, so mitad a mi mes tota que o radio maneira pues uma radio bonita, mi mes tota que era assim, não mitad regalar mi radio, mitad chiquito também.
Yeah.
Mitad atender radio.
E com a notícia mainta botato escucha ora botata by vários, bo mayor na tawata cambia de radio a radio.
No, well, sí, no per se de radio para radio, pero mi mama tawata mas de coisa na espanhol. So ita varia no vou especificar quadinam, pero like tawata varia.
Che men ballanta cu radio bayendo scoli ave bota visitando un radio emisora. Per me abbiamo bota drenta di un radio emisora?
Probabilmente drenta di un radio emisora.
Okay. It's the first time she's visiting a radio station.
Yeah.
I hope it's not for you.
Not the first time, but I haven't visited it a lot either. So for me, this is also a very great opportunity. And I think that UNESCO Aruba is really trying also to reach out to others than the traditional press, in the sense that we do press releases or something. And we post, for example, the international days that are stipulated by UNESCO or the UN on our Facebook page, Instagram, etc. But I think this is also a way to connect with people, no? And to connect with different parts of what, as Janelly said, the communication, the very broad communication field. And for us, I had a strange question. You just said emergency, that radio is very important in emergencies. And a few years back, I think there was a storm coming or something, and then the government decided to not give one radio station the capacity to send, right? I was really flabbergasted by that, and I thought that is a strange decision, because we cannot rely on internet if the storm really hits. Radio is still on, but the internet will fall flat, right? So in that sense, UNESCO also focus internationally on crisis situations. For example, COVID was a crisis situation, but we are also on the border of the hurricane area, no, in the Caribbean. So I guess in that sense, radio is still very important.
It is indeed, and I can remember that day. We are a radio station that have redundancy, meaning that if there is a storm and the electricity goes away, we have generator that can keep us running at our studio and at the mountain. Let's say where we transmit our signal. So you're talking about redundancy at two stations at the same time.
Right.
Not easy for any radio station because very costly. But that is very important. And of course, maybe there is one or two or three stations that the government can decide that support that needs to be supported to when there is an emergency, that the radio station keep informing. But even though the government did not, for example, assign us, we took that role for many years already, that when there is an emergency, we do our effort to stay on the air and keep informing.
I think that is very important. And I think we need to be aware of that, right? I mean, we are lucky until now that not a real hard storm hit us, but let's say that happens, and it would be nice to have some information.
Keep running.
Absolutely.
And the radio station work together in Aruba.
Okay.
So when there is an emergency and that there is one or two radio stations that are on, they tend to come together and share information, so the community is well informed.
That is very good to know. Thank you, Ulrich. I would like to share a little bit about an upcoming project that UNESCO Aruba is doing. We have been receiving a fund from UNESCO Paris to run a project that we called Design Research for Communication and Information as a Public Good. In Aruba, we are lacking policies, we have some regulations, but not a lot. Not that I'm per se pro regulations, but for the journalistic field. But we're trying to come in contact with all kinds of stakeholders, from citizens, from NGOs, of course the media in the broadest sense, to see if we can not only map and see who's out there and what is still going on in communication and media, but also to maybe develop what we call the framework, to see if we can stimulate and support media and communication in a broader sense. This also relates to, for example, access to information. So I know that a lot of times there's difficulties getting information, for example, from the government or from businesses, and that is something that UNESCO really favors. We are an organization that stimulates freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, of course, and on the other side there belongs also that there needs to be access to information. There needs to be transparency. So that is something that we try to research in one hand, and also see if we can work together with all stakeholders that we can come up with and think of.
Okay, can you give an example that you can highlight?
We will be doing focus sessions. Basically, we invite a broad array of stakeholders, which can be institutions, but also citizens, and especially youth. We are also an organization that is really invested in meaningful youth engagement. And we try to involve youngsters that can be primary school age until, UNESCO defines youngsters until the age of 34, because we also include young professionals. And what we will do is we'll together see what Aruba needs in its media landscape, in communication landscape. Especially now, as you mentioned, Aldrich, the social media and also the new developments in AI and etc. So
you're going to have these sessions in Aruba. Let us know, and the radio station definitely can participate. Yes. Even more press members can participate, because if you talk about access of information, more members of the press should participate, not only radios.
No, absolutely. We, of course, will invite the writing press, as we say, but we also want to go into the newer fields like social media, influencers, people that make podcasts or vodcasts. So yes, we will definitely be back with that if we have more information and more concrete information. So
what about the Caribbean? What are your take on the Caribbean and radio and media?
I think there are countries where radio is maybe still top of the most used media, and that is because often they say that in rural areas radio is very important still, right? They don't always have complete access to internet. Maybe it's kind of falling short, and electricity is not stable. So then radio is the tool that can be used still.
Yeah. I'm impressed at these times, for example, during the many geopolitical challenges that the world is passing through, that radio is becoming so important that internet is imitating radio.
Yes.
If you see, there is a podcast about, I don't know if you see it, Times Radio.
No.
Times Radio. Times Radio is becoming very popular.
Okay.
And they invite guests because radio gives you the versatility that you can speak to a guest anywhere in the world very easily with the internet, but in a radio concept, in a radio talk show platform.
Yeah.
And Times Radio has become one of them, very, very popular in Holland and many other countries too. So it is becoming, in a way, that the radio platform is blending into internet, into podcasting. And it is interesting. And in the Caribbean, I don't know, the other islands, but worldwide, it is going into that direction that people listen to podcasts, go in depth into some topics. For example, the Ukraine war, the situation, the situation in recently in Europe, the COVID, the pandemic, and other world topics that become very important.
Yeah. I find it funny that you say that, because I know that one time when social media became very big, everybody was scared that they would take over, right? But we now see that is not happening. It is indeed, it's more an intertwining and a fluid mixture of uses that can be used.
Each has its value. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We hope that autonomous driving does not become the norm, because if autonomous driving becomes the norm, then you will have a different situation where, because a lot of people listen to radio while they go to work or in the morning hours, go to school. So, but if people are going to be on their telephone while their car drives them to work, then it's going to be different.
Yes, maybe. But maybe we can evolve too, right? With radio, and you don't know.
Because people will be having attention on another media in the car.
In the car, that's true.
Yeah. But I don't know if autonomous driving ever is going to be completely, especially on our island. I don't think so. So, okay, we take a break. We will come back with more, and you can tell us more about UNESCO. UNESCO su rol awe poniendo atención arriba Dia Mundial di Radio. Non hai chance di dare un coffee e te mientras tanto aquí na 100.9.
Toma un break durante un día super druk na Smith & Dorla's Coffee House. Pasubosaka ba unda pa saborear un bom coffee of un delicioso thee orgánico, acompanhar pa un douche broodje, bolo of salada. E special, o Smith & Dorla's ta percurar pa preparar pa buco hopi amor. Pa nos clientes nan kuta preferar thee 100% orgánico e libre de cafeína, tem 6 tipos como misterbin purba. E pa paladar diferente e Bombay Chai, un thee exótico, un mezcla de cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg e black tea. E para nos juventud, aparte de caramel e mocha frappuccino, agora também tem cookies and cream de coffee frio na Smith & Dorla's. Bem desfrutar de nosso espaço ideal para fiesta ou para reunir com amigos. Nós abrimos todo dia de 9 de manhã para 6 da tarde e de sábado de 9 de manhã para 2 da tarde. Llama Trempang para reservar na telefone 588-4888. Smith & Dorla's Coffee House. Ta pa esunang kusa di compartir de bom ambiente.
Subway, saudável e fresco. Saboreia um duche soft, wrap, flatbread ou com salada com bom ingrediente no favorito. Pide a ser um sope, make it a combo com 2 cookies of chips, refresco de 20 ons, água ou upgrade para juice. Qualquer treat na trabalho, school ou get together, busca no sandwich platter de 5 pida ou nos wrap platter e para passar boca, nos duche cookie platter. Subway, make it what you want.
Shen aya pasa, nos hace promesa para aquí pabo. Nos mirabo familia crece, generación tras de generación. Un siglo de comprendimiento de que por necesidad. Y nos lo da aquí cubo para un otro Shen aya más. Da PC y celebración aquí ta sina grandioso. Pa sobre un centenio, ta resiliente, ta estima su comunidad y su cultura. Nos da soñador, nos da triunfador. Nos da centenio. Aruba Bank.
Urba Botambe e trend novo di momento. Kombucha di Granny Matis. Nanta refrescante y saborta único. Producí y embotellada de forma artesanal aquí na Aruba Mes. Kombucha di Granny Matis sta rico na probiotico, qualta bacteria nan amigable, uta ayudabo mantenebo stoma bon di salud, nanta contene antioxidante nan bioactivo, uta aumenta kwe fermentacion, ita combati radical nan liber dañino. Tambe eta bon pa bohigra, pa motivo di su propiedad nan kuta ayuda purifica. Kombucha ta un bebida alternativa no alcohólico de vino su grado mínimo bau di 0,5%. Di sabor na manera berries, hibiscus, apple cinnamon, ginger lemon, ginger cayenne y original di té preto of sencha matcha. Boporhaya e kombucha ng di Granny Matis den supermercado ng Macro San Nicolas, C-Mart, Sons, Do It Center y Den Cafés. Pa más información, visita e website matisdrinks.com. Nós estamos na última parte de conversação para awe. Nós estamos junto com a senhora de UNESCO, Birgit Kreykenbohm, e também Janelly Wolff, que é estagiária. Janelly, me que bem rato na boa promessa que nós clausurar o programa ao Dia Mundial de Rádio, para como rádio como hobby. Tem sina hobby, mídia e desenvolvimento está passando. Toch kiko pa bota si radio un único e a parte que botin atenção para essa que bota correndo estágio com UNESCO.
A mí personalmente, me más un audio listener, so visual, me pay attention, pero me lose track of everything. Pero a mí, me quiere especialmente me auto, or me corbais, or me canal pa fo, me quiere music e audio e notícia, mas audialmente todo para mim mais melhor comparado com o visual.
Bota considerava um audio persona, dus yes. Auditivo, que bota preferado e boa mídia e boa informação via orelha, e não necessariamente visualmente. Interessante.
Podcast também tá de meus favorites as well. So, hasta se não tá faz vídeo, normalmente tá atender, mas me tá atendendo no rádio. Porque dois com dos con sempre tá mani link junto.
Yeah. Interesting as a youngster that prefers to listen than to see.
Yes, very much.
Yeah. Well, we come to the last part of the program. Would you like to accentuate anything else on behalf of UNESCO regarding the day of today?
Oh, gosh, that's a good one. Because UNESCO is a very broad organization, right? It's not only the communication and information field, but we also tackle, I would say, culture, education, and the sciences. So what we try to do is also to create crossovers. And nowadays, with a lot of information on climate change, for example, because that is the theme also of today's World Radio Day, that is basically most of the time something that comes from the sciences, no, from the climate, the environmental studies, etc.
Have you seen any evidence of climate change in Aruba?
Seen not, but I felt the sea was really warm already in April last year, and that was kind of strange, you know. So, yeah.
And there are some
my
pictures.
My colleague will say no, that's maybe a coincidence or it's normal, but
no, the beaches are getting shorter and smaller. It is indeed. I saw some pictures, and there are some studies.
Yeah, but the thing is,
as well as a lot of the corals and stuff are dying as well.
Yeah,
and it's retreating more. So it's a lot of
corals are dying because the sea is getting warmer.
Yeah.
So maybe we cannot see it on a day-to-day basis, but that there's something going on, that's for sure. But that is where science also comes in, right? And to study these phenomena in society and in the climate.
Unfortunately, it is like that. Yes.
And Aruba is vulnerable, or can be vulnerable, right? I mean, it's a small island, so
we have several areas of Aruba where corals already died.
I know
we have some reefs, but there are many that the corals are already dead. Unfortunately,
that is one thing, and then we need innovative techniques and strategies, right, to kind of mitigate it or to maybe even restore. And we know that there are some events and activities already going on, right, with coral. Kwekerijen, to be said. But also with mangroves, for example, that is another area that is especially for islands, really important. With the coastline.
Does UNESCO give advice to NGOs in Aruba about how to better take care of the environment and climate change issues?
Not so much purely advice, but we work together and we try to stimulate projects regarding that. My colleague Marc Audubert is the one that is in the regional international organization for climate change.
Yeah, Marc Audubert, we know him.
Yes, so
used to be our the meteo guy and.
He's now with UNESCO.
Weather Department information.
Yes, and he's very much involved in the regional structures, so he knows what's going on, what new research is developing, and what UNESCO also. Of course, internationally we have a lot of information, and what we as UNESCO Aruba try to do is to contextualize and adapt it to Aruba. And there luckily are some organizations on the island, NGOs also, that are really invested in everything environmental. So that is something that we work together with. Yes.
You just said that culture plays a role also for UNESCO. We are in the middle of Carnival here in Aruba. Yes. Some parades going on. And how do you experience all this?
Wow.
Have you been in any parade yet?
Yeah. Not this year, but in the past I have. Yes, for sure. It's a wonderful festival. It's and it's it's really part of the culture, right?
Somebody is asking, a listener is asking, is UNESCO participating in Carnival? Well, as a dancer, as a witness.
I don't know. I will ask. We have a culture specialist also present at UNESCO. Yes. But we see it more like a part of culture and a part of identity of the island, no? And of the people on the island. So that is what the UNESCO does, a perspective. But I guess we have colleagues that are very much participating in Carnival. Right. And some are a little bit less.
Well, we came to the conclusion at the end of the program, and we want to thank you both for being here today and reminding us about World Radio Day, because when I got this on schedule that you are coming, it reminded me that the 13th of February also is World Radio Day. So we matched together to put focus on this important day. And for us, radio, of course, because we are a radio station, is so important to know that there are entities important such as UNESCO that put attention towards this media and the importance of the role of this media. Anything else would you like to add before we close?
Not specifically, just that we would like to stay in contact and involve radios more in projects, upcoming projects that UNESCO will develop.
You would be more than welcome.
I also would like to add that the UNESCO website also has available resources to anyone who is a radio station or a podcast or does something in the radio sphere. They can go on the website and they can get the resources that UNESCO provides, which is like free audio, posters, things that could help maybe next year if anyone would like to redo the World Radio Day, then they could do an entire day with different ideas that are available on the website.
Ok. Janelly, nós estamos contentes com o estágio com a UNESCO, para um projeto interessante para qualquer coisa que nós podemos ajudar para o estágio, contacte-nos back. Ok. Janelly Wolff, junto conosco, é estagiária na UNESCO, e Birgit Kreykenbohm, especialista de comunicação e informação na UNESCO. Masha danke, as we say in Aruba. Thank you.
Masha danke.
Tabata nossa entrevista di Dia pa Awe, arriba Dia Mundial di Radio.